Hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm still figuring out this audio mixer stuff. Mike, Max, Zeke, welcome. It's Drop Frames. I'm already mixing up Max and Mike. I told you I was going to do this. I wanted to
You
say
can call
Max
me
there.
Gassy.
I was going to say Max, fix the goddamn mixer, but anyways. Co's out this week. He's doing family stuff. He'll be back the 6th when we return. There's no show next week. We'll talk about that in the second half of the show. A lot of people are probably wondering, who the hell is Mike Minton? And why does he have a CMOz next to his name? You want to explain who you are?
My first question.
Yeah. Let's start there, Mike. Who are you and what is a CMOz? Is that a cool slang Zoomer term? What's going on?
It's a made up title, probably is the short answer. And the lore here is my job at Twitch is to help streamers make money. I have a good friend and peer, Tom Barilli, who's the chief product officer, who's responsible for all the other features besides making money. So in this, came up with chief monetization officer. Now, Rachel is our CMO. Rachel Delphin is our chief marketing officer. So I didn't want to have there be any confusion. So we added the little Z for monetization.
There you go. Nice and sweet. I like how the voice elevated at the top too. It's like we're a kids show and we're speaking to children. It's great. It's great. I love the voice inflection. Yeah, for people that don't understand corporate America and how that all works, Mike's at the top of Twitch and he handles, like he just said, all the monetization. So if you see ads, it's his fault. Just get angry at him. You can tweet at him. His Twitter's right there. Let's just get that out of the way. Let's just get that out of the way right out of the gate. He loves angry tweets, right, Mike? You love getting those just nonstop.
I do enjoy the conversation with the community, especially when I can provide clarity.
Very well handled.
Explain why things are the way they are.
Man, you PR'd the shit out of that. That was
the conversation with the community. You bastard.
What? This guy.
And the next Twitch executive we're having on, all of them, they all canceled? All of them.
Yeah, I'm about to get a text from the
never mind
from PR that's just like, what are you doing? We didn't agree to this. Starting off on.
So it's not on the pre-approved list to tell people to attack him on Twitter.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Let's where should we begin? I guess, coming off of TwitchCon, let's talk about the response to that. I think there was a handful of like viral clips. One of them happened at Twitch, specifically like the Jake and Bake clip, where I think he came out of a meeting with Dan, the president of Twitch, and saying that he was just depressed at the state of the platform in general. And I felt like that was somewhat echoed by a handful of partners after the TwitchCon. What are your kind of thoughts on the post TwitchCon community sentiment, and how do you feel about where we're at right now?
Yeah, it's first of all very clear. There's the range of emotions from people that left feeling very upset about not just TwitchCon, but where Twitch is as a service and where we're headed, and really a lot of fear and uncertainty about that. Also, honestly, there was a fair amount of people that left with excitement about the future and meeting their community, which is always the biggest moment, certainly at Twitch, is for streamers to meet with their actual fans, etc. So it's a mixed bag, but I don't want to sit here and say that I'm not seeing a lot of upset streamers, and part of what we're doing here as a company, the way I think about Twitch sometimes, it's in a bit of an adolescence, if you will, and going through some growing pains as companies do. But overall, I know I'm excited. I left TwitchCon energized, and I really appreciated the opportunity to talk to streamers face to face, sometimes in small rooms, sometimes in large settings, and that's always awesome as a leader.
And Zeke and Mike, aka Max, feel free to jump in whenever. With this, we don't have any. There's no pre-approved questions or anything, so that's to the community. Right. Just jump in whenever. Me and Zeke didn't go. And so, in terms of what elevates to the top, it's the negativity, right, on social media and whatnot. GassyMexican, you were there. You were at TwitchCon. And I know you had like a pretty positive experience coming out of it. I actually messaged you and we talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of the opposite of what the sentiment was mainly on Twitter. I wasn't on Twitter very much by the nature of just being at the con, when I was there in San Diego. I remember you messaging me like, hey, how is it, from somebody that's actually there? Because it seems like it's shit. I'm like, no, That's fine. From a con perspective, like Mike said, I mean, there's a range of emotions, and also everybody's con is not the same. Um, for the experience there, for me, like Mike said, it's always going to be a positive thing to one, see colleagues and see friends and be able to actually talk amongst each other, and hang out in a setting that's not just cooped up in our house doing our normal grind and all that. And then obviously meeting viewers and fans, people that are there just excited to be there, and I think that was very, very palpable. That was there still, stronger than ever. This is Mike. I mean, you can confirm this. This is your guys' biggest TwitchCon by any metric, right? As far as I understand.
I believe that's true. Yeah, in terms of attendance numbers and just so much excitement. And you mentioned that meeting colleagues, streamers. Like one of my favorite moments, walked into the partner party. I was Thursday night maybe, and Timac, who we did a panel years ago in Long Beach, I think, and we're talking about monetization. Anyway, I walked in the room and he was looking for me. He's like, "Hey, how you doing? I kind of was wondering how things were going since the announcement in the news." But it's those moments where you reconnect that are just super powerful because we didn't get into my background, but I've been at Twitch now for about 6.5 years and focused on monetization the entire time. And you do build those relationships. You have those opportunities to continue the conversation. Max and I were talking in the pre-show. Saw him in New York this summer. Saw him again at TwitchCon here a couple weeks ago. So it's always just a huge opportunity and an amazing experience to reconnect like that.
Yeah. So, but to summarize, like the con itself is going to be different for every single person. For me, it was a positive experience, but I can understand from people that didn't attend and just saw, like the keynotes, the closings, ceremonies and all the stuff, the things that were announced and or lack of announcement or lack of addressment of certain issues that are hot button and people want answers to. I can see how people would be frustrated for it, but the con itself was fun for somebody that was actually there. That's just from my perspective.
Yeah. I think it's also important to speak to chat real quick. I should have done this at the very, very outset of the show, but Mike's in charge of monetization, not moderation, not content, none of that. So we're going to be talking strictly monetization and kind of sentiment and all that stuff. All the other stuff, that's for a different staff member that we may or may not have on in the future. Really depends on how this goes. So behave, okay? It's on you,
Well,
chat.
I was commending Mike, and I commend any executive or any employee of Twitch who comes on our show and talks about this stuff, because then like people's anger or ire or whatever have a face. Like, I've been friends with DJ Wheat for a very long time, and man, people knew like one person that worked at Twitch. So like,
Yeah.
hey, what's the deal with ads? It's like, I am not even in that part of the game, dude. Like, what the fuck?
I know
So
he bore that responsibility for a while.
yeah.
Thanks
for coming on, first of all. And we were before the show we were talking about this, and I was wondering this, and I wrote it down, so it's going to sound a little robotic, but you ready? For a while now, there's been a disconnected feeling between the Twitch company and streamers and viewers. Can you talk about that from an executive standpoint? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, we see it and certainly appreciate it. And it has been, one of the things when we set out our company priorities at the beginning of the year, end of last year, was really trying to figure out ways to get more out in the community as leaders and engage directly. And that, you're starting to see some of that through what we did at TwitchCon, Partner Summit, et cetera, is just, get out there. But it's not just us. It's not just us as leaders and execs. I think sometimes what's lost is Twitch, the company, is Twitch, the community. And like, even on my teams, I have 6 or 7 partnered streamers, and not like partnered like, haha, 0 CPM, and they got it for free, like actually ground their way up to partner. And many affiliates, and everybody's consuming and watching Twitch, and so we're very, very connected to the community, not just as leaders, but through our teams who are actually the community as well. When you go to our company all hands, like the same questions that are being asked on Twitter, being asked in forums like this, even roundtables behind the scenes, are being asked in our company all hands, because people care. They care about what we're doing, and they want to really ensure that we're doing the best we can to plot a course forward that is community friendly and for community first, really.
Do you think that sentiment, the idea of community first, is how do I say it without sounding too much of an asshole? Is it lowered at the top? Like, is that idea of like community comes first, and like the idea of streaming and what streaming is, and like what the content on the platform is. The higher you go at Twitch, is that knowledge lowered? I guess is what I'm asking.
I don't. My opinion is no, and because as a senior leader at Twitch and knowing my peers, I think we have a pretty good eye on what's going on. I think sometimes what's confusing is like, do we have some secret mission? Like, do we have some plot to, the gaming versus non-gaming versus whatever debate or whatever, and like what we become as a service and what content is here. Like, we're watching. We're not like necessarily, driving it. We're in similar boat as the community in terms of watching the attention economy, really everything that's going on for creators. And sometimes you look at Twitch is only a small part of a very big ecosystem, right? And our role in that has changed a lot. And I think we're all watching not just Twitch, but we're also watching what's happening in the entire ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean that's a great jumping off point. Like 10 years ago when this started, it was Twitch. That was kind of it. There was, a bunch of other like fledgling live streaming services that if you go and ask someone today what those are, they probably wouldn't be able to tell you. Ustream uh, being one of them.
Own
And
3D.
yeah, and Own 3D as well. That went through its phases. The thing Own 3D gave us clips though, so I guess they're not to be forgotten too quick, right? We got clips because of them here on Twitch. But yeah, like looking at the greater ecosystem, do you see like, for example, YouTube, is that a giant competitor? Is that someone within the industry to, look at, see what they're doing, see what makes sense, and take things that are working for them and bring them over to Twitch as a platform? Like, how do you see competition, I guess, for Twitch, and how do you utilize that for the betterment of Twitch?
Yeah, first of all, I think, like, I'm sure all of you here, I know you all have YouTube channels. So this idea that
Yeah,
somehow, you're Twitch only, or that we're not part of as I said, a bigger ecosystem is not how we think about it. We do, really focus on the needs of streamers and the needs of our community. We are not competitor focused, and I think you'd hear that from anybody. If you even look at the broader Amazon company, Amazon would say the same thing. Focus on competitors. We focus on the needs of our customers. We watch and look what's going on. I think there are lessons that you can learn, and when you see things that are done, in an interesting way. I'll give you a good example. Like, I've had streamers for years tell me, super chat, works really well for them, and you compare that to say our Bits product, and our Bits product works really well for some streamers, works really well for some community members, but can also be very confusing and complicated. But they serve kind of similar purposes and ways for the community to support, acknowledge, applaud their creators, but the mechanics are different. So as you've seen some of our recent experiments, we're trying to make cheering simpler. In that it can form a similar function in terms of that acknowledgement, that support, the recognition for the viewer, but not perhaps have some of the complexity of the current Bits and sharing product,
right.
which was actually my first product at Twitch.
Bits was your first product?
Yeah, I had joined. So my background, I was at Amazon when Twitch got acquired. I've been a video gamer my entire life, so love video gaming. But I'm like, Amazon spent $1 billion on what? What's a Twitch? No idea really what it was. And I watched the interview with Mike Frazzini, head of Amazon Game Studios at the time, and Emmett did a little that was the first thing, getting to know Twitch.
Yeah.
Anyway, I owned a bunch of technology at Amazon, back end digital stuff. Twitch started coming to me like, we want to do this Bits thing, and we need help because we know that you can help us sell stuff on the internet. I'm like, okay, well, happy to help. I think gaming's great. I think Twitch is awesome. But that led to me about 3 months later, early in 2016, jumped across and became a member of the Twitch team. We launched Bits in, I think it was June 2016. Bobby Scar-Newman, People's
Yeah.
Champ, was the product manager on that.
I think we had Bobby on when that launched. I want to say we talked to him here on the show. Yeah.
Yeah, Bobby and I worked very closely together, and then we launched Twitch Prime. A lot of the underlying account linking and some of the when we built Bits, we were building some of the things that helped launch Twitch Prime later, and then that amazing game store. Remember the game store everybody wanted? Third place to buy games and distribute and all that good stuff. That was all kind of intertwined together, and my teams had built all that. And at the end of the day, what came out of it, fortunately, was Bits, which has been amazing for the community, and then the Twitch Prime, now Prime Gaming, in terms of that benefit.
Got it.
you brought up like you brought up all of us have a YouTube channel, and that's true. I don't want one. Honestly, like I'd really rather not like have one, but like I want to know like as far as a monetization effort, like is there any future like that I can see from here where I don't have to have YouTube, that I can have like a VOD system that I can monetize on Twitch?
You know, we have asked ourselves this question time and time again, and really, at the end of the day, what we know we're really good at is live, interactive, community focused, like building communities live. That's what we do well. And
Yeah.
to
Okay.
focus on trying to build a VOD platform would be a distraction to our core mission. And so you have not seen us really, other than serving the needs of streamers on Twitch, which is largely people want to catch up. You know, they missed a show. They want to be able to make sure that they can catch up with what's going on in the community, serving that use case, time shifting. You have, viewers around the world, and sometimes you may be streaming at a time that isn't good for them. So very focused on solving those problems, but not so much in terms of being a large VOD platform.
I get it. It sucks, but I get it. I understand. Like, I mean, it's I'm one for. I love analogies. It's like someone going to the theater and going like, "Why don't you guys film this?" Like I get it, but I'd rather have my selfishly, I want my stuff all in one place where I can make money. I don't. It's a hassle to drive people to other websites.
Well, and to the extent we can help reduce that hassle, so the idea that, we may have a role to play, and I think Tom's talked some about this, and reducing some of that toil in terms of thinking about how do I take my live broadcast, how does that become a produced, VOD of the highlights, or some, shorter compilation of what you want to get out there in terms of your content, using shorts or TikTok, using, whatever reels, whatever you may use. And so I think there's certainly a lot we can do to help reduce exactly what you're saying, which is the overhead of managing all that content in all those different places.
Yeah. Making it easier, I guess, to get your Twitch content on other platforms is kind of that happened with the most recent, I forget the actual entity of the product or what it was called, but seeing like chat linked to streams afterwards to be able to pick out the like points to throw those on TikTok or throw those on YouTube Shorts or whatever. I know I utilize that, and I know that there was third-party programs that already did that, and so to see like Twitch take it and bake it into the actual product in the back end makes a lot of sense. And so that was probably Tom, not necessarily you. So shout out to Tom for handling that in his team. Max, anything you want to throw in here? We've been kind of dominating the space so far.
Listen, I'm just I'm a filler here. I'm a guest.
Okay. No,
I'll jump in when most of the stuff you guys are already covering, which a lot of the stuff too that you guys are talking about, I've already talked about with Mike before. Not that I shouldn't bring it up, but you guys are hitting a lot of the things that it was said before, specifically about the video question from Zeke. Like
yeah.
that was something that came up in roundtable discussions at TwitchCon. And while it's always what we'd like, to keep a VOD stuff on there and have the ability to monetize it, it makes sense from their perspective to not focus on something and taking on a competitor that's very good at doing that VOD content, and focus in that. So I work for Twitch, by the way. I'm just doing a little.
You're highlighting, moonlighting as a Twitch employee.
If we could do it, Zeke, of course we would, But it's just one of those things we want to focus in on what we're good at, which we think is streaming, live streaming community. VOD is just an extra thing that we understand is in the market. But
the main reason why I asked that question is because like it's like I was here when Twitch became Twitch. When Justin TV made the transition, or Twitch came out of Justin TV or whatever.
Yeah.
So like I was lucky enough to be here at the ground floor, and I had time to build up an audience when it wasn't overly saturated, like everybody was streaming on Twitch, yada yada yada. So like I have like a base here where YouTube, by the time I like started putting like VODs and highlights and all that kind of shit on YouTube, like it was a thing for I don't know 100 years. So breaking in. Like I'm trying to break in to the YouTube still after 6, 7 years, 8 years of posting VODs. I still haven't had like a big like video or anything like that has brought a ton of people to my YouTube. And that's why I want it on Twitch, because I'm already broken here. I already broke in,
Sure.
to Twitch.
Yeah.
Like I already, have a base here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Good
luck.
I do.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you. I do have another question that I wrote down because I wanted to get it right. And it's something that I in my channel I've tried to like convey the idea that Twitch is like they're not money robots that work at Twitch, like they're people, they're human beings. And they are also a company that is employed, like Amazon owns Twitch, but it's not like an equal thing. So my question is, we know that Amazon owns Twitch, but I think there's a lot of misconceptions about how that relationship works. Can you describe it in a clear way so we understand the give and take between the two companies, i.e., why does Twitch pay Amazon for servers, bandwidth, etc.?
Yeah, it's a common question, and a lot of misconceptions go with that as well. And the thing I would offer here is, think of Amazon as a collection of companies, right? It's a very large collection of companies. It turns out one of the world's largest, and things like Amazon Web Services. And the way that to think about Twitch in that world is we are one Amazon company, and we are expected to, as leaders, run the business in a way that makes sense. Now, good news, Amazon thinks long term, so there's never short term thinking in terms of how we make decisions, how we think about the future. But as an Amazon company, independent, we are expected to create a business that makes sense, is sustainable, is viable, works for the long term. And that's no different than Amazon Web Services or advertising or retail or Alexa, etc. So it's just think of us as a business that happens to be owned by another business. Sorry, I keep looking up, not for the answer, but just because I'm trying to think about a good way to answer your question of simply. And that's the best I can do.
Is it more like, because the way I see it, and I mean, obviously you're here, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I see it is like an employer-employee kind of a relationship. It's if my employee is not performing, I will ask them to perform better, or there will be consequences, big, small, whatever. Is that like a fair assessment or not?
I wouldn't think of it that way. I would think of it more as investors is probably the better way to think about it. And think about us too in the broader ecosystem. Like we are really, as a company, it's not just the P&L that matters here. It's a incredibly interesting audience, right? You think about Amazon as the largest growing advertising business, or fastest growing, sorry, not largest, but like no secret, we're a big part of their advertising strategy. If you read the investor reports, et cetera, Twitch is often talked about in the context of helping Amazon grow the advertising business. So we're uniquely valuable in terms of not just the raw nuts and bolts of the business, but also in terms of Amazon's future and that long-term thinking that I mentioned. But I would think of it not so much as like they're our manager and they're beating us up as employees, but think about it more as they're investing in the long term and want to make sure that this all makes sense for them and us.
I think one of the other things kind of Zeke touched on a little bit with this question. I'll ask it I guess more directly, and you answered this for the most part at TwitchCon, but I think it's worth answering again. And it might be the exact same answer. So if people have already heard this, I apologize. When Dan's statement came out, the president of Twitch, and talking about the 50-50 split and what it costs to run streams and what that costs Twitch, he utilized a bunch of numbers that Amazon charges you guys to feed video to the greater world. People looked at that. They went and did their own research, looked at numbers, came to the conclusion that that was all bullshit. And those numbers were, whatever. They have their own opinions on the numbers. Can you talk to that at all? Talk about, where those numbers came from and your thoughts on it?
Yeah. So the part of the blog post that was talking about, why not 70-30 for everybody, was a lot of basically my writing, if you will. So I was very, very, very involved in terms of how we tried and what I was trying to do. So, in terms of doing the math, I did the math. What came out in the blog post, unfortunately, was understated. We also used the 200 number, which was unfortunate. It was a consequence of copywriting as I went through the process. It didn't get caught. When I actually did the model, I used 160 hours just trying to use something that I felt like was a little more reasonable for a month, if you will. Anyway, long story short, the numbers, were understated. And actually, there was some people that noticed that and called it out on Twitter and that, saying, hey, actually, that number's wrong. It's actually much higher. And the insight here actually came from the community. Several times over the years, various streamers have considered options and looked at like, why don't I just build my own streaming service? And actually did the same math I did to say, how much would it actually cost to do that? And they're like, ooh, wow, let's see. How many subs do I need? How many ads do I need to run? I need some sponsors. Like, that doesn't work. So the community's also done the math. So what I tried to do when I was trying to explain why not 70-30 for everybody is try to provide some context on how expensive it is. Now I get it. The community is immediately like, you're lying. No, you don't actually pay those numbers. And I'm like, well, that's not the point. The point is whether it's discounted 10%, 30%, 40%, it's really super expensive to distribute live streaming and, video around the internet, low latency, et cetera, et cetera. So, it wasn't as effective as I had hoped in trying to connect people with the reality of what, the service in terms of some of the costs. And that's only the live video part of it. Ignores, everything else in terms of the business. But anyway, of course, we don't exactly pay the public rates. It's an internal accounting, blah, 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 blah. But the idea that that bandwidth around the internet's free because Amazon has AWS is not also accurate. So somewhere in the middle, I guess the truth lies.
Sure. Okay. In terms of, you mentioned the split, Zeke. I was going to move on to that. I saw you opening the mouth. Did you have a question directly to what Mike just said?
No, I was going to open and then I got my answer and
okay, got it.
We're good.
Got it. Let's talk the 50-50 split. I think as creators, the three of us have our own thoughts on it. Initially being probably negative. I think in a lot of ways I look at that and not looking for commentary on this from you, and you probably couldn't even say so to begin with, but I look at it as like there was no more bargaining chips for the top streamers. And so if everyone's going back to 50-50, the 70-30 split is something that you can offer those people for, longer term contracts. And this is the 1% of the 1%. Kind of starting a new baseline for the rest of the site, as well as fulfilling the idea that it will help Twitch, generate revenue, generate profit, was kind of the big decision there. I guess the question was it kind of the glaring elephant in the room in terms of like, well, we always can go to do that. We can always go back and go 50-50. Let's try a bunch of other things first. And if it doesn't work and we can't figure it out, we can go back to that. Is that correct? Am I looking at it in the right way, or is that completely off base?
I think that what we've said and what we're trying to do here is we had I don't know how to explain it. We had a inconsistency in how we were treating streamers, and we knew about this. I could actually, as going through and as I went through this, and we've been working on this for years, literally years, trying to figure out, like, we've created a problem for ourselves, honestly, by allowing access to the 70-30 in a way that wasn't long-term thinking, wasn't consistent, all the things that we've said in the blog posts and various forums. And so what we wanted to really do, because 50-50 has been the foundation for the subscription product. And again, I'm not trying to distract everybody and say, oh, well, remember Prime, but Prime is a cost, going back to that Amazon relationship where Amazon's spending a lot of money in that Prime benefit. And when you add that in, there's a Prime benefit. Cheering is certainly not 50-50. Some of the things you've seen us do recently with elevated chat are not 50-50. So I think we continue to focus specifically on the subscription piece of it. And in the context of that decision about what we announced in the blog post, what we were trying to get at was, how do we solve this for the long term and still leave open the possibility of different outcomes? But we couldn't do anything if we didn't solve for the long-term issue we had with the way that it was administered previously. Emmett said this in New York at the Partner Summit. When we think about it, and so this idea of like, well, we could maybe do it if we said, streamers above this size. But what we ran into with that was we don't think that size should necessarily drive the rev share. We really want rev shares to be consistent for all streamers of all sizes. The larger you are, what we'd like to see you do, hopefully, is try some ads, because the bigger you are, the better ads work. And so that was the other thing that was going on here, is realizing that incentivizing large streamer on subs is actually not best for streamers, not best for us either, because really what we want to get to is that agreement that ads will work. Now, don't be wrong, not everybody loves ads. I get it. You got to deal with a lot of viewers that don't love ads either. And so the ads aren't always a great answer, but for streamers that can make ads work and run ads at good times, ads tend to be a really, really good way to make money if you're a larger streamer versus increasing the sub rev share.
Right. And I think is the
And
three
you
of
did see us, I should have connected the dots there too. And you did see us invest a lot in the ads rev share. And so, if you look at it, we could have potentially invested in increasing the sub rev share for a larger population, but actually, in the interest of all streamers, investing in the ads rev share, and not to say those are a 1-for-1 exchange. Don't anybody running away saying, "Oh, Twitch, could have gave us subs and instead gave us ads." But when you consider like the trade-offs between the two, what we're looking at is saying there's more upside for all of us, you and us, if we're able to get streamers to value ads, and that's largely happening now as a consequence of paying you guys a lot more for ads.
Mm. Yeah, I think all three of us were, the past 2 years, we all signed different contracts to kind of change the narrative of ads on the platform, as well as a bunch of other creators did. And from my point of view, it was pretty effective, right? Like a lot of streamers will say, all right, we're going to run ads. Large majority of their community will be like, oh God, got to watch more ads. Some parts of those communities will be like, yes, give us ads, run ads. Please, I want to watch ads. We need to give you money. I can't subscribe. Let's watch ads. So like the narrative has changed a little bit. For the greater part of the platform, though, I mean, I have an emote that countdowns ads of 80, 1 of 80, right? So like there's a pretty negative tone regarding ads on the platform. And in general, ads on the internet, the greater internet, have always been a bane, right? It's a worldwide phenomenon where people got out of cable to come and watch things that didn't have ads, right? It started with piracy, all that blah, 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 blah. And now it's kind of coming back full circle. So with all that said, are ads like, is it the end all be all of Twitch? Are ads going to always be present? Will they change at all in the future? That's kind of a bigger question, I guess. But if a viewer hates ads, what do you say to that?
At the risk of whispering it and it disappears, turbo.
Sure, yeah, the turbo, the T word.
Is there a path for that? Yeah, like is there a path to
Yeah.
make it like, ad-free experience? Just like for like to pay for it.
Yeah. So I think the way we think about, or I think about like the future of ads, like there's a limit to how much interruptive full screen takeover video advertising that Twitch can support. So, you're not going to get to, I think somebody was joking earlier about 59 minutes of ads and 1 minute of content. Better make that minute of content really good, right? Get in and around the ads. So clearly there's a limit. Now, where exactly that is, we'll figure that out together over the next couple of years. But what we really, really want to invest in or spending a lot of time on these days, and you've heard me talk about in various forums, like I think the display ads in the stream, very low trade-off in terms of viewer experience. Now you have to have a lot more of them, unfortunately, to equal a video ad in terms of the money that you can make off of it. But you'll see us continue to work on that product, get more display ads for streamers, increase the revenue from display ads in addition to video ads. And then sponsorships is the other thing. You guys all have amazing sponsorships. I'm not trying to get in the way of your sponsors, but I do think there's an opportunity for us to create more value around sponsorships, help you make more money with the sponsors you have today. And then for other streamers that maybe aren't as large and still haven't quite figured out the sponsor landscape, doesn't have agents, et cetera, that we can help bring more sponsorships to streamers. Because I think at the end of the day, we had a better balance of interruptive video ads, well-placed, well-timed, combined with less interruptive display ads and a fair amount of, sponsorship opportunities where it's, a more authentic, organic content. I think that would be a good balance versus 59 minutes of video ads.
I noticed you got through that. I'm going to circle back to what Zeke said. Does Twitch hate Twitch Turbo? I feel like I never see it promoted, never talked about. Like it is like this weird thing that just I, from my point of view, and a lot of Zeke's as well, I think we joke about all the time here on the show. Twitch feels I feel like it doesn't exist. Right? Like it's this secret thing that people have found. There's like, oh, you should get Twitch Turbo. Then they like get slid a card to get into some secret back room.
Yeah, it's like those secret menu items on like at In-N-Out or whatever. Like you have to order it a special way and you can get the Twitch Turbo.
Yeah.
But like it's not on the written menu.
Yeah. So what's going on with Turbo?
Let me bring you back. Thank you for bringing me back to that point, because I forgot to talk about Turbo. And we also know that many viewers are just going to want to buy their way out of ads and say, I don't want to be interrupted, and that's cool. And we don't advertise Turbo today. It is fairly buried. The people that use it tend to be our longest tenured viewers in many cases that did find the secret menu link to where it's located. We are working on a new iteration of that. When you go back, it's funny, the community has long memories.
Of course, yeah.
Turbo kind of went to the wayside when, remember Twitch Prime used to have an ad-free benefit across the entire site. I think that was removed in 2018. And every time we talk about anything today, any product announcement, I will always see at least one response of a viewer that is still angry about us removing the global ad-free benefit from Prime in 2018. But the point is, we know we need something that makes sense, and whether it's connected with Prime or not, I don't know. But we know we need an offering that, because if you're going to run ads, you need to have an out, and a channel sub isn't the best out, right? Because if a viewer doesn't like ads and they're consuming many channels, that they really want is no ads, not 15 channel subs as an example. And that's, going back again and going back to the 50-50, 70-30 conversation, unfortunately, part of the cost of a channel sub is in the ad-free benefit. And that's also kind of lost in there. And maybe a decision, if we were to rewind 6, 7, 8 years ago, we probably would have thought about that differently and not having that connection in that way. Because I think we need a Twitch premium offering of some form that includes ad-free. We're working on it. I don't have anything to announce today, but it is a priority for my teams.
It's not going away, is it? I saw that immediate pop up in chat like, great, you guys just fucked us, right?
Don't ask him that, JP. Don't ask him that. Santa Claus is real.
To be clear, the Turbo that exists today, we don't have any plans to remove until we have another version of Turbo that is, not called Turbo probably. We're not going to call it Turbo 2, but we do want to reimagine what Turbo is, reimagine the benefit to streamers. Think about a way that it makes sense for you, that it makes sense for us, makes sense for viewers. And as I said, we're actively working on it. We're not removing Turbo as it exists today until we have that.
Got it. Okay. Tell me if this is a stupid idea. If in chat, I'm sure you get this stuff all the time internally. But if Turbo offered the type of deal where you could select streamers, a set number, whatever it is, you mentioned how people don't want to sub to multiple streamers, right? If Turbo offered a thing where it's like, all right, for these X amount of streamers, I won't get ads because I have Turbo. But we'll still, fill ads or whatever. Is that something that you could potentially see or that you guys have thought about in terms of how the product could change?
Yeah, there's a range of options there, and thinking about how do you package it in a way that makes sense and rewards the streamers that where the offering is like, for example, if I buy Turbo and 90% of my time is watching JP's channel, then JP should benefit a fair amount of that Turbo subscription. So there's a range of options here, and trying to figure out how to create something that is exciting for streamers, that gets and doesn't feel like a loss, if you will, in terms of the trade-off here, and again is a win for viewers. And whether it's some form of some certain number of channels, or I don't know exactly. Like I said, we're looking at all a range of options here, and actually we may reach back out to you and get some more ideas, because
Well,
I
according to chat,
tested
you don't
some
want
of
my
the
ideas, so don't listen to me on that one. Yeah, I just got mini canceled in my own chat.
It's a very interesting idea you got there, JP. Let's talk more about that. JP, we want to keep you a part of the conversation.
Don't say that you want me to be a part of the conversation there, Mike. Not good. Not a good look. Jesus.
well,
This is how it goes in terms of being public and having ideas pop into your head. Sometimes you just shouldn't do it. What I'm trying to think. Turbo is kind of one thing I wanted to hit on. I know we're already over time. It was supposed to be 30 minutes, so I want to be aware of that. But I do want to talk about the ads incentive program. It seems like on the 15th of every month, it becomes the top. Like, do you dread the 15th at this point, or around then, like 2 or 3 days plus or minus? Because it just becomes the center of conversation every single time. How does that, like, what are your thoughts on that? What does that look like internally?
there's some truth to what you said about like knowing when the offers are dropping, and because I didn't really, I know we drop them about the same time every month, but I don't think I fully appreciated when they dropped until my Twitter blew up with a whole bunch of upset people about their offers. And every month, because so many more streamers are participating, the volume is increasing on the some of the reactions to why is my offer the way, in terms of how many minutes are in it, or how many hours of broadcasting, or how much money is coming out. And it's been a journey for us in terms of, trying to figure out how do you try to accurately forecast, because there's a couple moving pieces here, and let me try to unpack this a little bit and what the ad incentive program is doing. We had done for years a manual thing where we told streamers, run some more ads, especially during the holidays. We'll pay you a little more money, right? Effectively, or a lot more money in some cases. And I know, some of you may have taken advantage of that over the years. And so we're trying to figure out, how do we do this in a way that doesn't require, a whole bunch of paperwork and people going back and forth. At the same time, we really wanted to get everybody to a 55% net rev share, and which effectively was doubling or more the payout for ads for most streamers. Now, it varies because of CPMs and countries and viewership, and like ads just makes your head hurt sometimes. But the point is, we wanted to pay you a lot more for ads. And the ads incentive program was about connecting a longer term outcome with consistent ad running. Because if I told you you're going to make 14 cents for running an ad break as a streamer, you're probably not going to run very many ad breaks. But if I told you over a month, if you were consistently running 2 to 3 minutes of ads, and you didn't have pre-rolls, let's use the 3-minute threshold. You run 3 minutes of ads, 80% of your hours, and I'll pay you effectively equivalent of 3 to 4 subs, even as a very small streamer. Like, okay, that starts to make sense for me, right? And the larger you are, and it turns into hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of dollars, then it's like, oh, wow, well, I should take a chance on ads, because it will really increase my take-home pay, and more importantly, allow me to continue doing what I want to be doing as a streamer. But the guarantee is too rigid for us right now. And what I've said and what the team has said is what we really want to get to, and especially for a larger streamer, is having a good DM with streamers. Like, he doesn't care about the guarantee; he just wants to know how much he's going to make. And I think if you see us, in the future, what we really want to do is just pay you 55% net rev share for every ad you run, while continuing to tell you how much money you're going to make at the end of the month, so that you to try to get out of the rigidity, if you will, and just say, okay, so you're 2 weeks in, you've been running 3 minutes of ads an hour, you've been doing pretty well, you're going to make X dollars at the end of the month. And oh, by the way, if you run 30 seconds more, you'll make X more dollars. Or if you run a little less, and you all take breaks, you all have things going on, because this is the other thing that's come up, quite often, is like, hey, last month, I actually took a vacation, and first vacation I had in 3 years, and now my offer's low. That was you, actually.
Well, it wasn't the offer was low. It was that the hours streamed were 5 hours. Right, and that's when I've averaged 160 to 200 for 2 years straight. Took a month, like a literal month off, didn't stream, and so the algorithm was like, oh, well, maybe we can get them to stream 5 hours the next month.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's a million or so monetizing streamers, and many have all kinds of cases like yours.
Sure.
And so it's very hard to get the offers to be good in a way that, is we're always striving for accuracy, because we want to hit that 55% net target. So After the new year, you'll see us like it's Q4 right now. We have the most we're not going to make any huge changes as we go through Q4. Now we are going to make some adjustments to the minutes because we did realize that we were driving the minutes up really fast, and so streamers didn't understand that you take the top offer, and in the next month, you got 2-3 more minutes going up there, and it's like, what do you guys want from me? Like you're driving me to 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes. Like I was good at 4. Like how did I get to 10?
Yeah.
Right. So we got to fix that. And there's some streamers, what we really want to do too is like, hey, you know what? I've been running 45 minutes ads. It's a little bit much. I want to go back down to 3. And we didn't really have that offer either. So we're in the next offer cycle, we're going to fix that problem and give a range of options that hopefully don't result in streamers feeling like they're on a treadmill, and more that they actually can make choices that are good for them, that have a range from going down to a slight increase to staying the same.
I'm glad. I was just going to say, I'm glad you touched on that, because that was one of my biggest concerns, and I think I even mentioned it at the roundtable that we had at TwitchCon, was that it seemed like, from our perspective as streamers, there's this trend of constantly trending upwards. The more you accept an ad incentive, the next one, they're like, great, they accepted this, so we're going to have the increased amount of hours that you have to stream for this go up, and then also the amount of minutes also go up, enticing people with greater compensation for that. And in my mind, it just would lead to this unhealthy standard of how many hours then is acceptable to stream just to pay the bills, especially if people compensate and shift how they stream and their lifestyle, whether it be just thinking bills and stuff that they realize that they think they can pay now that they have this ad incentive. And then the biggest worry is that after getting both our viewers and us used to streaming these hours and running these ads, then Twitch goes, okay, ads is going to stay. And now that everybody's viewers and communities are used to ads, tough.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I guess thank you for addressing, that needed to change in terms of constantly having the minutes and everything, every metric in the ad incentive program go upwards to an unhealthy part. But also speaking to the future of it in that way, obviously ads aren't going anywhere, but the adjustment of the program, I guess, to make it healthier for the streamer and the viewers alike.
Yeah, exactly. And I know we've made some offers, 190 hours, etc. And like people are like, oh my God, like what are you doing? You're incentivizing. And what you guys do, I get it. It's a grind. And I don't certainly, to the extent we're making it worse for you all, that is, something I'm sorry. That's not what we're intending to do here. We want you guys to be able to have a good balance of content creation and everything else you want to do. I explain this and it's hard to explain sometimes, but if we were to give you less hours broadcast, so first of all, the hours broadcast is based on previous behavior, as we discussed. And oftentimes streamers are like, oh, this is way more than I stream. And then I go look at the numbers and I don't want to call them out in public. I'm like, well, you actually streamed, 30 more hours than that last month. And the month before that, it was X. And so a lot of streamers don't even appreciate how much they're actually streaming. But all that being said,
wait, streamers don't look at their stats? Come on now, Mike, what are you saying? You're out of control.
But the point is, we are not helping by putting out those high hour offers. Now, the reality is you'll make more money even if you don't, like, if I use this example on Twitter, like if I made you an offer for 160 and you streamed 170, you'd lose upside because you get paid at the CPM rate, not the 55% net rate. If I made you an offer for 190 and you streamed 170, you're going to get paid like the 170 as a whatever ratio of that 190. But I get it. It's not ideal. And in the future, as I said, we're going to go to a model that's more based on your current reality, how much you're streaming now, how much you've streamed, month to date, and not put it. Now, will there be a guarantee mechanic? We're going to test. I don't know how important. I've had different feedback from streamers as to the importance of the guarantee versus a prediction. And that's one of the biggest debates we're having as a team is, do I need to guarantee it, or do I just need to really pay you 55% period and predict how much you'll make? And I think our bet is more on the latter, which is to say, just keep it simple, which was the original intention, 55% net, and predict how much you'll make. So that's what we're working toward. Now, will there be a role for guarantees? Probably, because I do think it's a powerful mechanic to get people to take a chance on ads, especially in the beginning. Like, you've never run ads before, should I run ads? Is it really going to be worth it? I think it's a powerful mechanic then. But once you're established, and especially once you've been running ads, you don't need a guarantee. What you need is to get paid as much money as possible and to understand how much money you're going to get, as well as the trade-off. That's the other thing we've said too, is like, there is a viewership impact, of course, to some extent. And the more that you're running well-timed ad breaks, and we have a role in that. Like right now, many of you are running ads on timers. Not great. It's funny. We did the viewer level ads experiment a couple of years ago, and like we ran ads on timers and the community rioted. And now we've given you a tool and you're running ads on timers, and
Yeah.
not the same amount of rioting.
Yeah, I
but
got
we
11
do
minutes
know
on
that
mine.
we could-
Or actually, no. Ads should be running right now as you're saying that automatically. So that's
Yeah,
pretty
I gotta-
funny.
that would be priceless.
4
I
minutes.
think
4.5
that's what's
minutes.
happening right now.
4.5 minutes.
I hope
Yeah, I think-
somebody
I think-
clipped that.
I think universally across the board, we all agree that that is a horrible system and needs to go in terms of giving broadcasters the ability, and their moderators, if given, you know, that responsibility,
Moderators, community.
the
Yeah.
ability to run better placed ads. Because I think that's the huge thing that, speaking to what JP said earlier, is that a lot of communities know ads are a reality of trying to keep a platform viable and pay the bills, as it were, and know that it benefits the streamer that they're watching, you know, to help run these ads, especially if they don't have the ability to, you know, support in other ways, subs, you know, tips, whatever you want to talk, you know, call it. So being able to have that ad experience, not just jump in when, you know, pivotal moments are happening in stream and there's a break happening, and we're able to not have to worry about this timer, you know, it's just a thing that I'm sure you agree and we all agree on that is good. But I'm just saying it so that way you can be like, yes, this is bad.
Can I ask, in terms of it
Publicly.
in terms of it actually,
Yes, it's bad.
well, being on a timer also, yay. In terms of it being on like an hourly timer, was that because people were just not running ads that agreed to run ads? Is that the reason for that occurring? Is people just weren't doing what they agreed to do?
I don't know if it's so much from a compliance perspective as it's just hard to remember to run ads consistently. Like
Sure.
if you're just running it on a button. And so the idea was, hey, we'll prompt you and then you can adjust, right? And the idea is like, if we were talking, it's funny, I see an ad running on
Oh
your
yeah,
channel.
they're
It's
running
amazing.
right now. Yeah.
So I guess I'm talking to your subscribers and some turbo users. But
And people in VOD on YouTube, of course.
okay. Perfect. Anyway, the idea was that the ads, you know, the timer would be a trigger, but the ad breaks would be adjusted. And then the reality that we found out was streamers are busy, and most of them aren't even in the dashboard when they're streaming, right? They're in OBS, they're
Right.
in their tools. And so they're not even aware. I actually had a streamer's like, why don't you just give me a private chat message and tell me the ad break is coming? Because I usually have no idea. So one of the most immediate things we're solving is how can we help streamers understand that there's an ad break coming, so that if they want to adjust the timing, they can. And I think Max said it earlier, is like, it just shouldn't have to be the streamer. You can trust your mods potentially to adjust ad breaks. And oh, by the way, if one community member knows the ad breaks at a bad time, then why not let a viewer snooze an ad break? And if, you know, some number of viewers are snoozing an ad break, then move it for everybody. And so there's a lot of intelligence we can do to help make, you know, ad breaks better placed. And then the other point is, like, you know, we've looked at chat signals, we've done some amount of screen recognition, like a loading screen or an end of match timer. You know, people that are playing, you know, whatever, Tarkov, you know, battle royale type things, whatever, Call of Duty, like,
Yeah.
if you see a score screen, like, run an ad break. It's totally a great time to run an ad break. So there's a lot more that we can do to help you guys place the ad breaks better. But that's the key to it in terms of retaining viewers, because nobody wants to miss out, like everybody is now in this ad break, on an important moment in the stream.
Right.
On the flip side of that, having, you know, that ability of the viewers to not only snooze an ad break, perhaps suggest ad break time for when there's an obvious lull that's happening. That so if the moderators aren't present and the broadcaster is away from their, you know, their computer, having the viewers have the ability to do that, you know, at the very least, just be like, hey, this might be a good time, you know, using that system for it as well.
Totally. Yeah, because your viewers will help. They want to help because, as
They
you
do,
said,
yeah,
many of them
absolutely.
either don't have the ability to pay and want to support. And, you know, I've seen it. You know, the other idea I've seen a lot of is like, hey, I'm a subscriber, but I don't mind watching some ad breaks if I know it's going to help the streamer. How can I, you know, opt into that as an example?
Yeah.
Are we off? Looks like we're off the ad break now.
I think we are. Yeah. Let's move on topics quick. Let's not talk about
And
this.
that's the most important thing. And I'm so glad we talked about that, guys.
I just
That's
can't
great.
believe that Zeke said he wanted to run 15 minutes of ads an hour on his channel. Like, it's crazy to me that that's just so much ads, Zeke. Like,
Some people are just about the dollar, JP. It's, you know, it's a shame.
Joke's on you. I don't have timed ads on my channel.
That's true. You're not a member of the AIP, the Ads Incentive
Dude,
Program.
it was a tough resist though. I'll say, like, I tweeted out a joke tweet about like
People
is
took
my
you
ad
serious
incentive.
though, because
I know they did.
Yeah,
I'm getting really good at MS Paint, by the way.
I know.
'cause all I
Putting
did
a
was-
negative there in front of the offer.
Yeah, I just cropped a stupid thing and I put a negative like $sign in front of it, and I made a joke and people were like, "What?" And you know, some people the people who did get it thought it was funny, but the offer I did get, which I didn't like tweet out, was pretty good. It was good, but it's also like I have no control over that, and that's like I run ads regularly. I run 3 minutes of ads every 2 hours, and I've done that for 8 years now. Run them at the beginning every 2 hours and one at the end. And like I was like, okay, can I make this work for my channel? It's like, how many times can I fucking snooze this? Not enough. God damn. And that's the thing, like I want my bag, you know, for being a good ad runner, you know, being a regular ad runner.
You want a gold star from Mike every
month?
month?
I don't get my bag. I don't get that bag because I control the ads and there's no like 2-hour option. Go ahead.
Yeah, more
ask you-
flexibility is key.
Let me ask you, Zeke, as somebody that has been a good ad runner and doing that and stuff, and you said you don't get your bag, have you, without saying specific numbers, is it worth it for you to run these ads? Like, do you get a good financial boost from it where it's significant to keep running them?
It's yes, it's not near like what the
incentives, I'm sure, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not near the ad incentive program like what they would give you, but it's a good chunk of money every month.
Mhm.
And it's also like it's healthy for me, like to get up every
Right.
2 hours
To have,
and stretch
that's the
my
other side of
legs
ads,
and
yeah.
use the bathroom and you know that kind of stuff. Because sitting for 8 hours at a stretch without ever moving your legs is bad for you. So like it's not only good for like money, but it's also good for me health wise, you know.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I asked that, is just because I've always been of the mindset where, okay, I will run ads, and I've always been transparent with my viewers. Like, I will run ads eventually, you know. I won't do it until Twitch pays me what they should pay me for running ads regularly on my stream. Because I feel like that also, not to say you're doing it wrong or anything like that, Zeke, but from my perspective, I'm like, I'm not going to get my viewers and play along with the ad game that you know Twitch wants me to do unless I'm being fairly compensated for it. And I feel like if I'm already running ads, why would they compensate me? You know, why would they incentivize me if I'm already doing the job they want me to do?
Right.
So that's just where I've attacked it from.
Well, and we're getting we're 30 minutes over, by the way. So, Mike, thank you for.
I know. Yeah, I'm trying to be concise and
thank you for
just
staying.
get in some points.
We'll do like final questions. My final question is like, is the future, like, will the offer always exist for the ads incentive program? Or, you know, you see these like, one of the things that happens on the 15th of every month, which we were talking about, is streamers will tweet out their offers, right? And you're seeing a lot of, some of the ones that go, you know, viral are the like $45,000 offer for someone with like 8 to 10,000 viewers. And I haven't really seen, at least I haven't, I don't know if they exist. They might, you might have seen some streamers that are averaging more viewers than that and tweet out their offers. Is that number in that offer going to always remain, or is that something that's the now and you don't know if that stuff is going to stick around 6 months from now? Where, you know, someone's going to get an additional 45 grand to run X minutes of ads per hour.
Yeah, we are going to continue to evolve the program. The idea that we will tell streamers that if you manage this level of ad load or ad experience on your channel, that you will earn this much money, I think is a strong mechanic. So I think the point I was trying to make is like, how much of that is important for us to predict and to give you more flexibility through the month and adjust it. And so you always know where you're going to end up versus the very rigid guarantee mechanic. I think the guarantee mechanic has some trade-offs that are not amazing. And so what I really want to get to is I really just want to pay you 55% net for every ad impression that gets delivered on your channel. I want to help you understand how much money you can make at certain ad loads over time. I want you to trust us to recommend the best ad load for you. And so as we continue to work on the program, there will be changes as we evolve and learn and have these type of conversations with streamers. But I do think that really core mechanic of here's how much I'll make next month if I run ads. It's a function of our understanding of how much audience you're likely to have, how many ads we're likely to get. Like, we don't talk about that part of it often, but like that changes month to month, changes, in economic cycles right now. Certainly advertisers, pretty well known, are not spending as much money. So we're going to continue to evolve, but I think that core mechanic of an offer and that idea has worked really well for streamers.
Yeah. What's the plan for educating streamers on seasonal ad rates? Right? Because like November is going to be probably the biggest of the year, if November, December, right? And I think folks that have been around in the industry for a long time know that. But for newer folks, when they look at their offer, 4 months from now, and like the January, February, it's going to be lower, right? So that there's going to be some sort of process learning on the streamer side, which will probably come out as negativity and aggressiveness in the social media world. Like, how do you work to educate that? Do you prep them ahead of time? Do you let them know how seasonal ads work? What's that look like from your end?
Yeah, it's a great question. Fully appreciate the problem. I think part of it, good news, it's less of a problem than it used to be, and that's a function of the partnership with Amazon. Like if you go back 2, 3, 4 years ago on Twitch, like we had 3 times as many ads in November as we did in January, and that for at least many of our developed markets. And I got to be careful here because again, you're talking about a global audience. It doesn't hold true in every country and every place around the world, but in at least for streamers that are mostly North American centric, it isn't in any way as varied as it used to be because, again, we're doing a much better job of having ads throughout the entire year, not just in Q4, which is creating a lot of that jarring experience. But I do think you're also right that there will be some difference between, not just quarters or whatever, but also economic conditions, et cetera, where we have to help the viewers and streamers understand why the offers are what they are.
Yeah, for sure.
Max, I just had like a really like off the wall, like weird question. Like what lower third ads or whatever they're called, banner ads, don't like interrupt the stream. Like those Fox ads for like those like episodes of Shoving Buddies, and they're like, yeah, and there's like sitting back to back and shit like that. Like, does those work, or do people not want to pay for those? Like ad companies, do they not care about those?
They do. The difference though is the rates are just small percentages of what the rate is for a 30-second interrupted video ad.
Okay.
So you can do that stuff at scale, and what I mean by that is if you had a persistent banner underneath your video, and we were going to test this and see if streamers like this or not. You have a persistent rotating banner where you're delivering, I don't know, say 120 impressions an hour because you had 30-second exposure, et cetera. You start to get at such a scale, and then you got to ask yourself, can I sell enough ads to fill all that? And I think Amazon can. It may make sense for you to take that option, as opposed to, especially I think for streamers that are not, what's the right way to say it? Like running ad breaks is hard. Maybe they're running content that doesn't lend itself well to well-timed ad breaks. It may be that a display ad is a good option. But the point I'm trying to make is that like you have to have a lot of display ads to equal an interruptive 30-second video ad. That's just the economics of it.
Yeah.
Well, because I've seen, and I've brought this up before, and I've seen a lot of people bring it up, like easy peasy, just do the bar at the bottom. And I'm glad you said like, because that was my like inkling, was it wasn't enough. Like it's not the same that the ad companies are willing to pay you. So I'm glad you clarified that.
Yeah.
Now there's a spectrum though, and there's some display ads. You mentioned the lower third format, which is a more either in the background of the stream example or more real estate. So the more impact you have with the ad creative, certainly the better or more advertisers will pay for it. So we're going to test a few different variations in terms of what the advertiser value prop is and what the CPMs are. And then again, try to figure out a way that this all makes sense for you and us, and that maximizes your upside, and we can actually deliver the ads and make our share as well.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing about ads, at least on any content, is the more annoyance, the better the money, right? That's just kind of the foundation of ads, and so it's always been true in any form of media. And so now we're dealing with it firsthand, which it is what it is. But I think the more options, the better, right? From a viewer and streamer point of view, the more options that we have and the more types of things that we can utilize rather than just a full screen video ad, that's
Right.
that's king. That's paramount. Max, anything else? Any final questions here? Wrap it up.
Not necessarily final questions. Basically, just thanking you again, Mike, for talking with us. You've had these conversations over and over, and it's not always the most enjoyable, but that comes with the job, right? As you know. I think for me, speaking just from my perspective, is I appreciate that you guys have these conversations. And I think much like what I said at TwitchCon, I'm going to echo that here, where being a long time broadcaster on this site and somebody that's been here from the beginning with Zeke and much with the JP and everything, we want to take a lot of the stuff that you guys say, and believe you, but it's hard coming from that perspective of being jaded and cynical and stuff from hearing a lot of the words, but lack of action. So from our perspective, it's like, we appreciate you sitting down and talking with us, especially knowing that you've been around at Twitch for a while. It helps us, want to have that conversation specifically with someone like you. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just going forward. We just see how you guys handle education of things like ads, seasonal ads, all that stuff. And being more transparent and making it more readily available information for the changes that you guys make going forward. So it's another one of those, we'll see what happens, what's actually actionable by you guys and what goes forward. But in either case, I appreciate you talking with us at least, just so it clears up misinformation and clarifies for viewers and us and other broadcasters what your guys' intention is in terms of monetization and going forward.
I appreciate that, Max, and for my role in this, and as I've said, I know Tom feels the same way as the other half of the product experience on Twitch is, we really want to help you guys understand why and what's behind the scenes, what our motivations are, what our thinking is. It's easy to assume that we're disconnected, evil, and all those good things, and we are trying to make the best decisions we can, and none of these decisions are easy, oftentimes, in terms of the trade-offs. And the trade-offs for either the business, trade-offs for you, and really, we fully appreciate all the work that you guys are doing to create content, build communities, keep people safe. And we know that we haven't always hit the mark in terms of doing everything we can to support that, help you make as much money, and more importantly, explain what we're doing and why. And so it is a commitment that we'll do that. And I hope to have more opportunities to come on shows like this and talk to you in partner summits and TwitchCon roundtables and whatever it may be in the future.
Yep. You're welcome back anytime.
Yeah. One last question that I don't know if you even have an answer for it, but is there, because a lot of the problems that with the disconnect between Twitch the business and the viewers and streamers and stuff is the fact, like, the misinformation, or they don't know anything, or they're assuming things and that kind of stuff. Is there like something, like some advice or some place we could go to, like, see, because I love this, like, frank, open discussion like this. Like, I am a more understanding person because I've gotten older and I've talked to people in business and shit like that. So I understand, like, a little bit better. I'm not an angsty teen, shouting at the man for making money. Is there like a way that we could see the inner workings of Twitch? Like if the Twitch blog is one thing, it's pretty surface, but like, do you have a place to go, or plans for the future for more transparency and shit like that?
Transparency, the idea of complete transparency is maybe aspirational. And the reality is, as a publicly traded Amazon company, the level of detail that we can share is limited. And that's, it's unfortunate, but that's the reality. So what we have to try to do is contextualize things in ways that are, as community understandable as possible without getting into the literal details of exactly what the P&L looks like, because we simply can't do that. And no public company can, honestly. It's just the reality of the expectations of shareholders, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that being said, I do think that having a dialogue around, the decisions and what and why to the extent we can, and as transparent in the thinking without necessarily the specific details, are what we hope to try to close the gap with in conversations like this. And, you know, really, we're Twitch, we're a live streaming interactive video service. So the best way to talk to the community is exactly like this.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's one of the things that I want to hear. I want to hear, like, I can't tell you. Like, that's fine. Just say that. Just fucking come right out and say, I can't say that. I can't tell you this
Sure.
I can't tell you this because business reasons, shareholder reasons, stuff like that. That's all I want to hear is like, I understand. I get that. You know, I get an NDA. I get, like, you know, that kind of shit. Like, I cannot say because of blank. That's totally fine. I just want more of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out Mary Kish in the chat. She was, I think, promoting Patch Notes, which is a monthly show, Zeke, that happens, I think, the
yes.
last Thursday of every month. And they've had, Mike was on with Tom was there at TwitchCon, and they've been on in the past as well. But yeah, look up the show called Patch Notes. Is kind of a Twitch run show, and this goes for viewers as well, to check that out kind of on a monthly basis. But yeah, Mike, you're welcome on the show anytime to come and talk. I know we kept you 45 minutes over, so I appreciate that. Do you want to know the score of the game, or are you already watching?
I'm not watching.
Do you want to know the score?
Of the...
It's 6-3. The Lions are up.
Yes.
There you go.
All right.
Any?
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Any final words? Any comments? Anything like that, Mike? Before we wrap.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say is, you mentioned Patch Notes, a good example, and it's not just me. You know, there's a team of dozens of product managers that are working on all the details, whether it's ads or subs or cheering, etc. Patch Notes are often on those things. I had like 50 people at TwitchCon. We're out there. We want to hear from streamers. We want to hear your feedback. And I think there's a variance here in terms of the product details and how we build them. You know, Patch Notes is a great place to understand some of the thinking there and to share your feedback. On the why, you know, certainly that's going to be a different audience. And, you know, whether it's Tom, Doug, our Chief Customer Officer, Dan, you know, Emmett, you know, sorry if I missed anybody, Twitch execs that I didn't call out, you know, these are good conversations where we can explain more of the why. So we want to cover all the bases, but the important thing I guess I want to leave you with is we're listening. We're really excited to continue the conversation. I know it's not always easy. I know sometimes we disappoint you, but we're continuing to try to figure out how to make this great for the long term, great for you, and great as a long term for the next generation of streamers yet to come.
Fantastic. Well, we'll wrap it there. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll go into the second half. Shuffle Mike out here so he can go watch some football. And also shout out to your handlers, your PR team, because we kept you way too long.
Yeah. Appreciate you staying to talk with us.
Yeah, that's great. It's been 45 minutes after.
It was a good dialogue, so I did.
Of course. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Drop Frames right after this. We'll see you guys then.